G'day guys, Clint here from Waterpro, recording episode 42 of The Full Landscape. I'm here with Belinda Seddon from Urbans. You may remember them as Urbanvirons Group. We are here to talk about her career, her move from South Africa to Australia, and her climb in the Urbanvirons Group, or Urbans, to the now CEO position, and all the things along the way. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this one. If you've got any questions at all, stick them in the comments afterwards, and we will be sure to get in touch. Thank you. Thanks for coming in. If you can just give us a bit of an introduction to you. Obviously the podcast is going to be a lot about you and in the industry, but a bit of a background around as far back as you want to go and what got you to being now the CEO of Urbans.
Sure. So born and bred in South Africa, moved to Australia in 2006. So been here just on 15 years now. And Urbanvirons at that time was the first company that I joined. I come from a finance background, so back in South Africa we actually had a family business. So I left school, did my uni, focused on accounting, got a job, and shortly after that my dad actually passed away. My mum was left with the business, and so I had to step in and help her run the family business. So we did supply of gas and welding supplies.
Yep.
And basically worked in that business with my mum for 8 years, close to 10. I decided then to make the move and immigrate across to Australia. My first job, as I said, was with Urbanvirons. Joined as the General Manager of Finance and worked in that role until about 2014.
Yep.
Leon Whitehead at that time was the CEO and director of the company, and was wanting to sort of make a transition to retirement. And so I stepped into the acting CEO role in 2014.
Acting CEO?
Acting CEO at that stage, yeah.
Yep.
And basically, you know, I guess it was just a bit of a period for Leon to assess whether it was going to work, whether it was the right role for me. And yeah, you know, was in that role for about 6 months and then transitioned into the full CEO role.
And he had a good enough relationship with you that you could have had a conversation and he could have gone, look.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. In the initial stages, when he said, right, you're now the CEO, no longer the finance manager, I'll keep my office in the corner, and we'll see how it goes. And 3 months afterwards, he came to me, we sat down, we had a chat, and he said, how's it all going? And I said, it's not. He said, well, I'm glad you say that, because I've noticed that too. With him still being in the business, sitting in the business, it was really, really hard for the staff to make that transition themselves. They still reverted, you know, to Leon as the CEO. So he basically, that same week, packed up his office and he said, I'm working from home from now on, I'm there if you need me, but you need to take the reins, which is what happened. And look, yes, we did. We had a great relationship. You know, I was his 2IC all along. We always got on really well. And you know, through my time being the finance manager, got to know the business really well. You know, we've had some ups and downs, and as most businesses do. But really, you know, got to the point where I needed something more than simply just doing the finances. You know, I'd come from back in South Africa, a general manager role, running the company business. So I needed more than just simply the finances.
So you did a CPA?
I did. Well, actually, so I did my studies in South Africa. Coming over to Australia, though, they didn't. I had to do Australian taxation, Australian law again, and I had to actually redo the CPA in Australia, so I did. So my first couple of years in Australia were new job, new country, and doing some study at the same time.
Did your mum come as well?
She did,
yes.
That's good. Yeah. So she came out with me. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What was your reason behind having the CPA? Because obviously you wouldn't have needed it in that role. Was it just something you had to get?
I think, you know, it very quickly built a good relationship with the external accountant, the KMT partners, and he's a CA, and he sort of suggested that it's probably something that would be good for me. And as the business grows, to have that CPA working in the business. And so, you know, I decided, well, you know, it's a good opportunity to learn some more about the Australian accounting rules, because they are different. And so it was a good opportunity because I had done my studies, worked in South Africa, and hadn't done much professional development in the sense of studies in South Africa. So it was timely to come back, to come across and do some of that.
And do you still have the same external accountant?
We do. Yep. So he's grown with the business. He's part of our business and has been for. I think he became the external accountant of Urbans about 2 or 3 years prior to me joining, and has been with us all through. Yeah.
I used to have this theory that you should, I guess, almost re-interview and re-look at your accountant every 3 or 4 years and make sure that the one that you've got is the right one for your business.
Sure.
I think at some point you understand that you know enough about business that the one you've got is the right one.
Yeah,
I feel like we've fallen into that place now, but I think for some early stage businesses, the only accountant you've got is the one you can afford at the time, and
absolutely.
As you grow, you might not move up with the accounting level. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. And look, the role of the external accountant has changed over the years. In the past it was merely a compliance thing. You needed an accountant to do your best, to do all of your statutory returns. But now, more so than ever, your accountant is more like an advisor and a business partner. And you really got to have somebody that you feel comfortable with, that you trust 100%. Because at the end of the day, they're going to provide you with advice, and you're going to make decisions based on that.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think especially with the introduction of software platforms like Xero, where everything's taken care of. I think there's going to be accounting firms that if they don't pivot, there's no other word, if they don't pivot to kind of match that advisory model rather than the tax accountant model, then they're just going to get smaller and smaller because there's no chargeable hours.
No, exactly.
So they have to have something.
Yeah.
So you maintain the CPA. You'll just maintain the CPA. That's
yes. I just there's a requirement just to do the CPD, hours on an annual basis, which I will continue to do. We actually now employ within our organisation, as we've grown, and I stepped out of that role. We employ an internal CPA, and we've got another one of our accounts receivable accountants is actually completed his degree, and he's in the process of doing his CPA, and I've actually acted as a mentor for both of them through that CPA
So
process.
Internally now, so you've gone from, what did you call the role? General Manager of Finance.
Yep.
How big was that department?
So it was myself and 2 assistants at the time, and so we've basically got an accountant, an accounts receivable who does a lot of our collections, invoicing, and then we've got a mornings only that assists both of them with accounts payable and whatever. And
does payroll fall into the
payroll? So the accountant actually looks after the payroll.
And they're both accountants?
Yes, they are.
Wow, that's heavy.
It is heavy, Look, when I say accountants, Denny, he does our accounts receivable, he's got his degree. And so we actually call him our accounts receivable accountant. But Jean looks after all the payroll and all the other statutory things. And then whilst look, I've got a passion for finance. I'll never get rid of it. And whilst I am the CEO, I've always do have that. I'll never be able to switch off from accounts.
No, so I get that.
Whilst I have never replaced myself with an actual finance manager as such, I still do a bit of that role as well. But moving forward, we have discussed it that it's probably, in the next sort of 6 to 12 months will be something that I'll have to look at as we continue to grow. Actually, getting a finance manager sitting in that seat. Yeah.
It's something I'm actually recruiting now. So I've interviewed 2. I've got 2 more in our first ever accountant role, and I think it's something I never thought about. And I guess I'm interested to know your opinion. At what point in turnover do you think that a business could financially warrant having an accountant as the head of their administration rather than an admin manager that's basically got good bookkeeping experience but doesn't have the degree? Do you have an opinion on that?
Yeah. Look, I guess a similar thing happened with Urbanvirons up until the time that I actually joined the company in 2006. They were turning over between sort of $5 and $6 million and did not have an accountant. And I think that is for Urbanvirons, that was the level where they thought, they were using their external accountant to provide all the reports, doing a bit of, the cash flow projections and things like that. And I think, and that's a part-time role. When you getting into the 5 million plus turnover a year, I think you need to have somebody sitting in the seat, managing those finances for you. As you know, a big thing in any business is cash flow. So you can be profitable and that's great, but you've got to have somebody there that's hands-on, that can actually manage the flow of cash and making sure that you've got sufficient cash.
Yeah, they can forecast.
Yeah, absolutely. And the budgets as well. I think it's really important to do those budgets and to actually track and see how you're travelling against those budgets. If you haven't got a target or something to work towards, you're just flying blind, really.
You're preaching. I talk about this all the time, like where I run an elastic budget, so it's always changing because we're a fast growth business, so I'm kind of like increasing turnover and then sticking more stuff underneath.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to do some content on budgeting for small businesses because I don't think anyone understands how simple, how easy it really is, and if you can just do some stuff. And I'm working with some businesses that they haven't had budgets for 7 years. I'm like, how do you know
where you're going?
But I have this. I guess there's this general chatter of like you don't want your accountant running your business. How do you feel about that? Obviously, you are your accountant running your business. Like I'm a salesperson, so you're an accountant. I think sales rules the world.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So I always lean towards supporting my sales team if there's an argument between an accounts department and a sales department, or in a purchasing department and a sales department.
Sure.
I'm like, salespeople are right, and it's not always the case. But obviously, I'd be keen to understand your position on why an accountant is the best CEO, not necessarily just you, versus say the salesperson that's climbed through the general management into the human. Like, what do you see as the difference, and what works?
Look, for me, I don't necessarily think that the accountant is the best CEO. It's that's just the way it's happened with Urbans. I think what's really, really key for any business is getting a good mix in your team of different personalities and people that have different outlooks on business and what's important in business. For me, Alan Patton is my Director of Operations, and he is very much focused on sales and marketing and excellent customer service, and that's really, really key. So having that person, whereas I agree with all of that, but I do sometimes have a more conservative view on business as an accountant. So I think having that good mix in your senior management is absolutely vital in driving growth in the business. So it's got to be growth, but it's got to be sustainable growth, and I think I bring the sustainable to it, and because otherwise people will just continue running. And sometimes there's got to be a point in time where I say, okay, we just need to hold back for a bit. Let's just consolidate, and then we can move forward.
It's that conscience. I talked about it with someone the other day. Like they kind of asked why I needed that role because we're trying to hire that role. I said it's like when you're driving a car really fast. It's that conscience telling you that your car's now wobbling a bit, and just to take your foot off the accelerator, and how comfortable you are at 180 over 220. And not that I've ever done that, but you're having that because I'm growth driven. That's all I care about. So for me, it's about having a babysitter there to make sure that, like, to really protect me from doing stupid things. So, do you write the budgets with the owner now, or are you at a point where he's just like, I don't want to, like, this is yours. You just tell me what's going on.
Yeah, look, Leon doesn't take. He's not actively involved in running the business. So he takes on more of a board member type role. In an advisory capacity. So he doesn't come to the business at all. I catch up with him regularly, and he does a bit of. So he's a great mentor for me. But he also brings he does a lot of research, background research that sometimes we don't necessarily have enough time to do. So he's very. Absolutely. So he doesn't get involved in the day-to-day running, so no, he doesn't do the budgets. Obviously, we do the budgets, work really closely with the operations team and the Director of Operations in setting those budgets. And we're very much about growth as well. That's our aim. We want to grow by 20 to 25% year on year for the next...
Gazelle.
Yeah, absolutely. And so...
For how long? Until you die?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you've got to have a growth mindset.
I think if you're stable, you're not. If you're consistent, you're going backwards. I mean, you can't grow at CPI.
No.
It just for me, even 20% makes me feel uncomfortable. But I actually did a video for the team this morning because I do videos and send them out to the team because it's the best way for me to communicate. I'm not a typer, and I said I acknowledge that with the lack of policy and procedure. We're at 10 mil, 11 mil now. So, and I don't have any policies and procedures. Job descriptions, like, it's very loose. So I acknowledge they can't grow more than that. Like, it's just too hard to grow 40%. So, and when your GP isn't 40%, you can't grow 40% without external investment, which I'm not comfortable with. So I'm just going, well, that's what it is. But so you'll ideal world, last year's turnover hit budget plus 25%. Can we do it, kids? Yes, we can.
Yeah.
All right, there's your budget.
Yeah. And that's been the plan. You know, over the years we've had to diversify. You know, when I joined Urbanvirons, it's a very different company to what it is today. You know, our core was weed management and horticultural maintenance. And we did a bit of tree work and a bit of landscaping, but that was not our core. And over the years, you know, given where the industry's going, and also from a risk perspective, we've had to diversify. You know, diversify not only our service offering, but also the clients and the customers that we're working with.
Yep. I think, and I'm having the same issue now. Like, Waterpro is kind of getting very pointed towards its end of market share for its chosen markets and the chosen customers. And I think without diversifying, if you want to grow 25%, there's only so much more you can do. Like, you're only in South Australia.
Yes, we are currently. Yeah.
Yep. I like the currently bit. There's only so much you can do. Like, if all the councils have got their chosen weed sprayer contracts and they're done, and then you've got only so much money being spent in parks and gardens, well, that's done. All right. So then now civil. Okay. Well, we've got some opportunity there. So, I guess that probably rolls me into the rebrand. Obviously, it's what triggered me to reach out. Urbanvirons is now Urbans. Anyone that's across the market's seen the logo changes, and it's quite prominent. And I mean, I see it all the time because your vehicles are so close. Like, when I'm driving to work, I'm seeing trucks going, you know, with arboriculture and landscape, and it's all there. I get, from a business owner standpoint, I understand that a rebrand's not just sticking a new logo on it, unless it's A and Z, that probably was. But talk to me about the underlying reason behind the rebranding and what it means for the company. Yeah,
I mean, the underlying reason was really about clarification for us.
Internally or externally?
Both. Both for our staff and for our customers and the broader, you know, stakeholders. You know, with a business that's 40 years old, people tend to see the Urbans logo and think, oh, that's Urbans, they do weed, like I said, weed management and horticultural maintenance. And that for a long, long time was what people, you know, how people saw Urbans. But we did a hell of a lot more. I mean, going back to, you know, 2014 was when we really ramped up our tree division. Alan at the time actually joined us as our general manager of arboriculture, and he drove that side of the business, and to such an extent that it's now one of the biggest divisions within the company. So, you know, there was that, and then there was also the landscape construction, which we started doing, and now we're even touching on the civil stuff. And I think we needed to get it out there that, you know, we're Urbans and we do all these things, and it was about really clarifying all those service offerings.
Are they all one company?
All one company, all operating under the same ABN.
So they'll get an invoice as Urbanvirons Group or whatever it becomes. It's just the visual.
Absolutely. So putting it out there,
that's so much cleaner, because I imagine that would be a clerical nightmare to have all different.
Oh yeah, no. So like I said, the Urbanvirons Group is still the statutory company. Urbans is the nickname, the brand, and then each of the divisions has their individual brands based on, you know.
But they're all working towards the common company and the common goal.
Yeah.
Is there much divide now from that, or I guess it might be hard to answer because it's so early? But there's not an us and them. Like, well, that's landscape stuff. I'm not touching that. Like, is that
I think it's actually assisted. The team was part of the whole branding exercise, and I think that was really important. And like you said, it wasn't just a matter of deciding on a logo and sticking the logos. And we actually went through a whole exercise. And I think that actually brought the team together and made them realise now more so than ever how important it was for them to actually work as a team. You know, there's a lot of cross-selling that takes place amongst the divisions, and often we'll be doing a project where it involves our weed team, then our tree team, then our landscape construction team, and then our horticultural maintenance team.
Because there's no defined line, is there?
Absolutely, So I think more than anything, it's brought them together, and I think the key, having them as their separate logos has also created a bit of competition.
Which is not unhealthy.
No, it's a healthy competition, yeah.
How many staff are there now?
152 was the last count.
Wow.
Back in 2006 when I joined, it was around about 55 staff.
Yep.
So we've more than doubled over the period of time.
You're recruiting pretty heavily now.
We are, yeah.
Are you struggling?
We are,
yeah. You're not on an island there, I don't think.
I think we've got ads running across all of our divisions,
yep.
As do our competitors.
Yep.
And so I think people that are really well qualified, and the top quality staff have got can basically pick and choose who they want to go and work for. I do
a lot of videos. I do a video every day and put it on YouTube, and I talked about very early in the piece choosing a good leader, and the importance during this time to, when the market's buoyant, you have all these opportunities, and it's very easy for a weak business to pay good money because there's so much money in the system. Even a bad business is going to profit.
Sure.
And to choose a good leader. What separates Urbanvirons in your mind from any of your competitors in the work, like for these people that are looking for a job right now? Like, what's going to be the difference for them over the next 10 years of their career if they chose Urbanvirons versus XYZ Virons?
I think it's our ability to offer them opportunities amongst other divisions. So often you'll find that whilst some of our competitors do compete with us in many of our divisions, we see ourselves as the only company in South Australia that offers all 7 service offerings. There's some that may offer 4, there's some that may offer 3, there's some that only focus on 1. So an opportunity for anybody coming into our organisation, whether it be as an apprentice or a trainee or even as a qualified person, there's the potential for them, if they, for example, start in our ARB division, the potential for them to transition into our landscape construction division, and likewise within the 7 divisions within the company. So I think that's where it's the opportunity. We've got what we call our Be Skilled, which is also part of our new rebrand, which is a real focus on providing our staff opportunities to advance, to train, to upskill, and we're happy to support them through that process.
I'd say a business of your size has a responsibility to your own business, I guess, and to the industry as a whole to train a lot. Like when you've got that many staff, you're kind of a beast and you're chewing up humans, like you're going to be training the future landscapers. Do you have trainees, and is that something that you actually
absolutely doing? And so we've got, at the moment, we've got about a combination of 5 trainees and apprentices on board across the divisions. But we're looking to employ more.
There's not a percentage goal or anything there?
Look, right now, if we could find 5 to 10 apprentices that can come on board across all divisions, we would take them. For a company, you would know there's a lot of grant money out there at the moment, and so it's a no-brainer if you can to give apprentices opportunities.
I haven't really looked at it. I've been so head down just doing my thing that I met up with a guy recently who got a $1.2 million grant for something in recycling, and I was like, maybe we should start recycling stuff. Like, what can we do here? But I haven't looked at it enough. Earlier on, you talked about Leon obviously being someone that you go to as a mentor. Is there anyone else that you look to for mentorship or for advice?
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously, it's tough at the top. There's not a lot of places you can go.
Look, I absolutely. You need to surround yourselves with people outside of the business that can offer you advice and be that almost like a board where you can actually just talk freely and just get opinions of people in different businesses, but obviously going through the same things. I find that doesn't matter what your business is, every business has similar issues in terms of people, finances, all similar types of things. So I actually I belong to 2 external groups. I belong to the CEO Institute, where we have a group of 8 to 10 people in CEO positions. We meet once a month. And they'll get guest speakers in to come and talk about a number of different subjects, and it's a really, really great opportunity and you get to know the people and you get to trust them, and it's just an opportunity for you to have that sounding board when you're going through change, when you've got issues within your business, and they're experienced operators.
It's likely one of them has been through the same situation.
Absolutely, yeah.
Are you involved in the Australian Institute of Company Directors?
I'm not. It is definitely something though that I've had a look at. It's been suggested to me a number of times. It's probably something that I need to look at doing.
That's a selfish question. I've just joined and I'm looking at doing the course.
Okay.
And so I was just interested.
Oh no, so I think it's a great course. The feedback that I've had from a number of people that have done it, it's well worth doing. So maybe joining you. I'm
probably doing the September one. So anyone that's watching that makes no sense. So there's in South Australia, there's an Australian Institute of Company Directors in South Australia. Or it's a national thing. There's a course. It's ridiculous. It's $7,600 or something for a 5-day course. But it helps you understand your statutory regulations and obligations around being a director or a board member, from what I understand. In addition to that, you meet potentially 10 or 12 people that can afford to go to a $7,000 course, so the networking and potential is good for me. That's probably more what I'm interested in. The pre-reading is an 1,100-page document, which I'm trying to work out how to get someone to read that for me and read it into my head. But anyway, so obviously you can go to those people. Someone you can text at night and go, hey, have you ever done this? Or who did you use? I'm assuming external consultants are coming in, like the Rebranding. I'm assuming that was an external consultant.
Yeah. So another group that I actually belong to is the Executive Roundtable. So I've got 2 that I attend. They've also been, both a bit different, but very helpful to me in my journey. I was through the Executive Roundtable. I was actually introduced to a brand specialist, marketing and brand specialist, Lowen Partridge from Pear Tree Branding. And she basically walked us through the whole process. And so, as I said earlier, it involved our whole team. We basically got the team involved, did some workshops, and actually nutted out what it was, who Urbanvirons was as a company, as a persona, as such, and what our aspirations were. And going through that journey step by step, it basically ended up in us coming up with the brand, the name, and the look and feel of the company. And we actually even included our entire staff in the process as well. There was some of the workshops that we had. We got the whole staff complement there, right down to the field staff.
How do you do that? You just shut it down?
Friday afternoon, 3:00. Put on a bit of a barbecue.
This is important. We want everyone to be involved.
Yeah, absolutely. And we wanted the staff to understand the journey that we were going on and the reason why we were doing it, and we wanted them to have involvement in it. And it was I thought it was really good to do that.
It's good. I sometimes worry. Like I love to get everyone all hands, and we've got like railways is 7 days a week. So for us to do anything, even on a Sunday, would have to be it's at night kind of thing. So it's. My wife used to work at a law firm, and they'd just shut the building and go have lunch together. I'm like, what do you do?
You can't do that.
Someone's got to work. Like, what's going on? But I guess that's probably more jealousy than me. Yeah, I just wish we could do it. So, are you a reader? Do you do you read fiction, non-fiction? Is it?
I do, not enough, but I do try to every now and then get a book in. I tend to try and include some learnings out of it for myself. So. 2 of the books that I've recently read are the story of the Nike
Shoe
Dog, which I found was really
Phil Knight.
Phil Knight, that's correct. Yes.
It sounds like your taste for that kind of books in line with mine. Like I listen to audiobooks through Audible. Because if I sit down and read actual document books, I start getting sleepy. I don't know if there's something with my brain, but I'm fine listening. And the Jack Ma story, so the Alibaba story, and then the Amazon story. I think that's whatever that was called. But those kind of books are really interesting to me.
I mean, I guess you get business learnings out of it, but at the same time, it's very true to life because as a business. As running a business, you go through a lot of the things that they go through, so it makes a lot of sense, and so you can get some advice out of it. Also, inspiration. I guess I find those sorts of stories quite inspiring.
I want to try and kind of bring as much value to the guys listening. There's obviously like a lot of our audience are going to be young businesses, and when I was in early stage businesses, potentially 20 staff down to 2, 5 years down to none. Do you stay across, I'm going to try and, I'll ask you questions around that, and if you might be too disconnected from it to answer, but what are you seeing, if anything, in those kind of businesses that you would suggest could be done differently, like on a whole? Are you across that? Like are these young startups you know, like we talk about.
I think it's surrounding yourself. It comes down to what I said earlier about surrounding yourself with people that you can really trust. So, you know, in the initial stages, it's having that really, really good external accountants. I think it's key. It's vital for any business. And then, you know, getting a mentor. For any person that wants to go down a path of becoming a very, very good leader, CEO, needs somebody that's been there and done that, I think. And so having a person that's perhaps been in that position that can actually mentor you and guide you along the way. You know, so whether it's an individual that does that for you, or whether you use a platform similar to a group where you meet with people and you know, and I guess, you know, network as much as you possibly can. Expose yourself to any opportunity that you possibly can to get out there and learn from people that have been exposed to business for many years. I think that for me is really, really important for any startup. Work hard, that's what it is, put the hours in because that's what it takes.
I think there's no shortage of work happening from a lot of these guys. I think that sometimes it can be misdirected and it's just you're very busy kind of doing nothing productive so that you can wear that badge that I'm working hard, and it might not be, the best.
I think it's really important to have a variety, surround yourself with a variety of people that have knowledge and experience in not just one area of business. So, you know, you mentioned earlier, you need somebody that's really onto sales and marketing, and then somebody that's got the finance. Legal is always very, very important, but, you know, when you're growing a business, understanding your legal obligations and that HR thing, you know, it's massive in any business. Getting somebody that has a really good understanding of HR is key, you know.
Are you doing that internally?
Yeah, so we have an HR manager that manages all of our internal HR issues and stuff. But then, if need be, we do engage an external industrial relations company that does the law side of things.
Stuff.
Yeah, the fun stuff.
I had. No, I don't think you'll mind me talking about this. I did a podcast with Lachlan Jeffries Group. Lachlan was obviously of the family that I bought Railways from, and we talked about HR. Now they've got 70 staff and they don't have any HR internally, and I said to him, that's really weird, like I'm looking forward to having a HR person so I don't have to deal with it. And he's like, no, I don't want a HR person because I want to deal with it. Do you have a position on that? Like, I guess I think his argument was that if you have a HR person, sometimes it can be very easy for your management team to go pass it on to HR rather than trying to reconcile any issues at their level. Yeah,
absolutely. I think we're quite, the way we've got it set up is pretty good in that our HR person is an administrator HR person. So whilst she does deal with the staff in the field, it is the responsibility of each of the what we call field coordinators, who are the direct reports of those field staff, to deal with issues within their staff group. Our HR person also wears the systems hat, and so I'll tell you what, if I was doing HR, I wouldn't have time to do anything else.
No.
It's just also not only because of the issues, but because the training and getting apprentices on, recruiting.
Yeah, it's not a negative thing. There's a lot of actual onboarding and recruitment,
and so because we're trying to engage staff in training programs and getting them, so there's a lot of administrative work around that.
It makes sense.
I think it's absolutely vital. You know, when you get beyond, I would say, 40 or 50 staff, I think it's...
That would be my next question.
Yeah.
So, $5 million internal accountant.
Yep.
40 to 50 staff internal HR.
Absolutely.
I wonder at what point you need internal legal.
Well, we haven't got to that point
300?
yet. Yeah, perhaps. Yeah.
You need enough money to be covering someone to read every contract.
The same goes with systems.
Yeah.
At what point do you get to where you actually need an internal systems person to look after your systems? Everything in business nowadays is driven by systems.
Well, not this business, but we have systems. They're just not documented.
Yeah, but it's an important function, and so we currently we use external consultants for our technical assistance when it comes to systems. Yeah. I guess there comes a point in time with any business where you have to make that call and say
we need to. I just don't want to spend the money, but I know that we need to. My wife is now working for the business, but her career was as an assistant in a law firm that worked in workplace law and defended against work cover and everything. And she's like, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this. I'm like, yeah, we've got to sell more stuff first. So that's like, so you're probably very risk averse, and the accountant side of you is like, all right, we're just going to take care of this. I'm like, sell more stuff.
Make more money first.
Make more money, then we'll spend it on stuff.
Yeah.
So, what did you want to be when you grew up? Like, as a kid in South Africa, what was the goal?
A professional tennis player was my dream.
What, you just didn't have the backhand, or?
Look, I've always been really sporty growing up, and so I was a swimmer. I started off. My whole family were competitive swimmers. So I started out swimming from the age of 6. I was in the pool and training twice a day. So and I did that until I was about 14. So I was I always had a love of the game of tennis, and so. When I gave up swimming, decided that it was my time to play tennis, and quite quickly progressed. And it was playing at a national level, so I thought I was good enough. But I think whilst I loved the sport, I still had a bit of an academic side to me. So I wasn't just purely focused on sport. I was still quite conscientious when it came to my academic side of things. And so when I got to the end of my school years, I guess I could have made the decision then if I wanted to take a sort of a gap year and focus on tennis. But I don't think I was probably good enough to do that. I could have given it a try. I was up there, but it's tough to get to make it in the world of sport. You've got to be really on top of your game. You've got to have those support structures around you. And so I just made the decision then that I'd still continue playing tennis, and I did, but focused on my academic side.
So you're still pretty active now, like you're still.
I haven't actually played for a while. It's just too busy. But I still love the game and watch a lot of tennis, and would love to get out there. And when I first arrived in Australia, I joined a club and played league and club level tennis, and probably something that I'd like to get back into again.
How much do you work?
Look, I probably doing anything upwards of sort of 50 to 60 hours. I never switch off. So whilst I might not necessarily be sitting at my desk in the office, you're out on the road or you may be at home, but I'm always working. Whether it's sitting in front of my computer, whether it's researching on my phone, whether it's responding, whether it's looking on LinkedIn. Saturday, Sunday, so when I'm actually sitting doing work, I try to be really good, because obviously you've got to be mindful of that work-life balance. But you would know, as a business owner, you'd never ever switch off.
I don't want to switch off.
Yeah.
Like it's not. It's gonna be. It'll be a health issue at some point. But I think I just love it. So it's not like if I have spare time, I choose to do stuff for the business. My wife makes jokes of it, and she's like, "You can go to work if you want." I'm like, "Really?" And she's like, "Yeah, it's okay. It's okay." This is like on a Saturday. I'm like, "All right, you sure?" And she's like, "Yeah." So off I go. So if I was a genie, a magic fairy genie from the future, and I came and said, "All right, Belinda, you've done your accounting and you've got this job and all that, but you can choose to do any job in the world. I'll cover all your education, and flick of the fingers, you've moved to that country, you're doing that role, you've got the full qualification. Would you do something different, and if so, what would it be?"
Absolutely not. Let me tell you now, Australia is the best country in the world to live in. I've been there, done that, growing up in South Africa and seeing how things have progressed in South Africa. It's still a beautiful country. It's still part of my upbringing, and I love the country, but I would not want to live in any other country in the world. Australia, just the way that we've gone through the whole COVID crisis, and the country's been good to me. South Australia in particular accepted me, and I've been given great opportunities here. The opportunity that I've been given at Urbanvirons through working closely with Leon, and the team that I'm surrounded by now, I'm much the same as you. I love going to work.
You wouldn't be a professional tennis player?
No, I don't think so. I'm beyond that now.
I'm a magic genie. I just send you there.
I absolutely love what I'm doing. Yeah. I'm much like you.
I think even being a professional tennis player right now would suck.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like imagine travelling the world, going into lockdowns, playing to no crowds. Like I think it would be really challenging.
It would be.
We're very lucky to be able to continue to do what we do in SA. Yeah. Effectively untouched.
For me, coming to work every day is not like it's coming to work. No. It's going to a place that I'm passionate about, and it's working with a team that are dedicated to our company, and that is great.
What's your staff turnover like? Is it low? Like, I mean, for the right roles, obviously you're going to get people that come in.
Yeah, look, I mean, we've had, like I say, we've had our ups and downs. We've had staff come and go. Culture is a really important thing for us, and sometimes people just do not fit the culture. Yep. We've found over the last 18 months to 2 years, since we've gone through this whole growth phase, yep. There's been some people that have...
Because there's been a lot of, I guess from the outset, it looks like a lot of people left and a lot of people came in, and you've just got this real nice, I think, I said to a lot of people, if you haven't set your team right now in the commercial landscape space, you're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think going through the whole branding process was an eye-opener for a lot of people, I think. And when we worked with this person, she said to us, look, you're going to probably find that some people are going to jump off the bus, and they're going to think, this is like where we've been, but don't necessarily like where we're going. Yeah. And that was the case. There were a couple of people that decided that it just wasn't for them. The business that we are working in now is we're driving. We want high performers on board. Yep. And there's just some people, and no disrespect to them, that felt that it just wasn't for them.
It's not for everyone. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about the world. We've got such a diverse range of people, and everyone wants and need different things, and they have a place in the world. I talk about it a lot, and my staff haven't grabbed onto it enough, but I'm saying, like, if you don't want to work here, and there's another place in the world that you'd like to work, come and talk to me about it. Not only will I support you in letting you go to job interviews during work hours, because you think about, otherwise they're just going to call in sick to go to an interview.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So if you don't fit the culture, or it's too professional or not professional enough, or you want to change careers, I know a lot of people. Yeah. Let me do it, and I really want them to. I want to get one or two of them to do it and actually come to me and say, "Hey, I'm not happy. It's not you. It's not the business. It's me. I've just got some shit going on, and I want to go live in WA." I'm like, cool, I know some people, let me make a call for you. And until you find a job, you can stay here. And as soon as you get the job, you can leave. Yeah. I think if we can start getting that to happen and
I think that's a great way to get the best out of people.
But staff won't believe it.
No.
They're like, no way, you'll just fire me. I'm like, I will not. Like, I promise. You just need to trust me. But until one or two do it and I prove it and help them find a job, it's just going to be this kind of you're just saying that to kind of...
Move me on?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't want people here if they're not happy. Oh,
absolutely. I mean, I've seen it firsthand. That if somebody's not happy in their job, that they just do not perform. They can't cope. Yeah. It makes them unhappy, and it makes people around them unhappy, and it affects the team. It really does. So you've got to want to be there. You've got to want to be part of the team, and you've got to understand where the bus is going. Yeah. And I'm happy for anybody to jump off the bus if they don't want to be there, and like you say, I'll support them through that. Yeah. There's a perfect role for everybody out there, and it may not be within our organisation, but and I'm happy to support that.
And with the internet now, those roles are so easy to find. So that's it for my questions. Actually, no, I have one more question. What accounting package do you guys run?
So we, back in 2000, we used to use MyOb, but we just found that it wasn't sufficient for our needs as we were growing. And so we transitioned to a Pronto ERP system back in 2017.
Is that open source? Like, can it be edited, or it's
no, it's so you can either have what they call a version that sits on a mainframe or a cloud version. I think majority of companies are now moving down the cloud path. And look, another reason why we moved for that was because we had MyOb, but then we also had a couple of other systems that didn't really talk to each other. So we ended up with 4 or 5 systems, and everybody having their own processes of doing things. And so we thought we wanted what we call a single point of truth, which is, and everything is under the one banner. It's not an easy transition, let me tell you.
Oh, I know.
It's people get comfortable and they don't like change, and moving across to a new system is not easy. There's a lot of onus that's put back onto the staff to train and to test, and so we went live, and we thought the wheels were going to come off, but we worked through it, and yes, we've been using the system now for coming up for 3 years, and it works well for us. Yeah,
that's good. So I guess in closing, I want you to kind of, so we've talked about the direction for Urbans now, so it's going to be just solid growth, recruitment, expansion potentially,
Yep.
even to regional?
Oh, absolutely,
Yep.
Yeah, that's definitely on the cards. I mean, I don't think you can be naive to think that you can only ever stay in one state.
Yep.
You know, we have a lot of competitors that have presence interstate, and I think it's something that we definitely will look to into the future for sure. To obviously, you know, you can grow, and you can grow so much within South Australia.
Yep.
And so if we want to take, once we've done that and we feel that we've maximised those opportunities, whilst we still will consolidate, and that the opportunities interstate, I'm sure will come and we will look into.
Yep. And for anyone that's looking to get in touch, obviously there'll be 100 people that watch this. If they're looking to reach out, is you're best on LinkedIn? Like if they want to get in touch
absolutely.
with you
Just
get pointed in the right direction?
Sure, touch base.
Obviously, there's a team of people underneath you that are going to handle any construction or weeding or arboriculture. But you're happy for people to reach out to you on LinkedIn?
Yeah, absolutely. No problems at all.
That's
we'd
cool.
love that.
Well, thank you for accepting this to do this. I'm not sure if that squeaking that's out there is getting picked up by the audio, but if it is, I'm really sorry to everyone that's listening. We might have to move this podcast back to Kent Town where it's much more pleasant. I've got an empty building sitting in Kent Town where we used to. I'm trying to rent it out. Anyway, whole other story. So thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this, please give it a like on the YouTube if you've watched it there. If you're listening to the audio, we'd love a review. I will link up all Urbanvirons' details in the notes in the YouTube. And yeah, thanks for tuning in.